I'm going to start by saying it's just a few minutes until the hour of 10 o'clock, and we have with us Senators Shelley Capito and Senator Joe Manchin, both good friends of all of the people on this call, both wonderful representatives of us in Washington, both showing the way for how to work in a bipartisan and constructive manner on behalf of the interests of the people, not only the people they represent, but on behalf of the interests of the entire nation. And so in many respects, I think, once again, West Virginia is leading the way in our nation and showing us, showing everyone how it can be done and probably how it ought to be done. And it's just wonderful to have both of you. Thank you so much for taking this time. I know you have many things you could be doing. And I'm really, really pleased that you've chosen to do this. So thank you. I think most people on this call would like to know, that would be interested in knowing anyway, that last week here at the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce, we were getting lots of phone calls from people who are worried about their unemployment compensation and whose money is running out. And we heard from people who were sounding very scared and very uncertain about their future. And so all of us, I know, are grateful to Congress for acting and preparing to act. And we'll hear more about that in just a few minutes. So the goal here today is to be very respectful of the senators' time. They really, really have many things they need to be doing today. And it's a tribute, I think, to both of them that all of this came together very quickly late last week when it looked as though Congress was on the brink of being able to pass a bill. And there was just really no jockeying for position. There was really no delay. The Senators Capito and Manchin agreed to this phone call to help tell us what they know about the bill and where we are without any real difficulty. So it happened quickly, and I want to express my appreciation to both of you for that. With that brief introduction, I think we've probably given lots of people time to join this call. We now believe we have hundreds of people listening in on this call. And I would like to turn the call over to West Virginia's senior senator, Joe Manchin. I will not spend a lot of time introducing Senator Manchin. He is worthy of a terrific introduction. He has held and done esteemed work throughout his lifetime on behalf of the citizens of West Virginia. Most of us know him so well that we could recite his resume without any notes. And because we know him so well, I'm going to throw the conversation to Senator Manchin first for remarks, and then we will come to Senator Capito for remarks. And then we will, if time allows, we will take questions. So if those on this call have questions, hit your Q&A button, and we will do our best to get to questions. With that, again, thank you, both of you. Thank you very, very, very much. I couldn't be more proud. I can't think of a state with a better delegation in the United States Senate than West Virginia. And it's a great honor to be able to recognize Senator Joe Manchin at this time. Senator Manchin.
Well, thank you, Steve, and all the members of the chamber that are on this call. And I want to thank all that you do. Shelley and I have said before, it's always good to be with Shelley, and we were talking, but she had said before that we're not coming home until there's a bill. Well, we have a bill. We just hope we get to vote on it today, and we'll be home tonight sometime or tomorrow morning, I can assure you. But it's been an arduous situation, to say the least. We'll touch on the COVID package. I know Shelley has an awful lot to say about that also, but let me just say that my staff is on, and they've worked diligently throughout the whole thing, as all of our staffs have. And Mara's on, my state director. So anything that we can do, or any questions you might have afterwards, you can call our number, the state number at 304-342-5855, and any updates we'll be able to give you. We haven't seen the final draft yet, but I can give you a little bit of an update on what's going on. Let me tell you how it came to fruition. We were in a deadlock for a long time, longer than should have been, because of the hectic politics that we're involved with. It's just unbelievable. Republicans were what Democrats thought was too low, and the Democrats what Republicans thought were too high. Somewhere there had to be a balance. So we got a group of senators together and started talking back and forth and working. Said something's got to be done. So everybody looked at the emergency. What expires at the end of December? And that's how we set basically where we are, and that's how we got to the $900 billion figure. Took a couple of weeks just to get to the $900 billion figure, because everyone was saying, no, it can't be more than 5 or 6. And Democrats said, no, it can't be below 1.2. Well, I'm sorry, but 1.2 is not going to fly, and neither is 550 or 600 going to fly. So once we got to the 908 figure, then basically putting the nuts and bolts to it. So the template that was laid out that we put together is what basically both the four corners. I want to say this too, and Shelley might have a different opinion than I do on this, but I want to say this. I've watched this system for 10 years now in the Senate. And I will say Shelley's done a much better job of keeping her jobs longer than I have. I've had many jobs in between, but she's been consistent at being in the House and now in the Senate. But with that being said, I've observed in the Senate, this last minute thing that we have, and then the thing that you hear about, four corners, trust me, that is not by chance. It's more by design than anything today, because it leaves all the power in four staffs and four members, which are the leaders of both the Democrat and Republican, which is Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Kevin McCarthy. And those four staffs have the ability to rewrite the whole darn thing, no matter what we do. Thankfully, they stayed along the template that we put together, and there was about 15 senators back and forth working. We had more input. It had been vetted more. And they don't talk to each other. And we've got to stop that. I believe as senators, we can stop this whole thing of letting this come down to the last minute, four corners, making decisions for all of us, take it or leave it. And that's exactly what we're getting, probably a 600 to 800 page bill today. Not only is it $900 billion in COVID relief, there's another $1.4 trillion spending package that's incorporated in that. We got an energy bill, first time in 13 years. It's entwined in that. And I think, Shelley, you can talk about Word and the things you all got involved in that too. But there's a lot of things in a bill that's just mammoth that people haven't seen the language to. The COVID package has, first of all, relief to unemployed. And Steve, what you mentioned, we had 16 weeks that we thought was necessary to get through. Ours was always an emergency COVID relief package. This is not a do-all, end-all. Emergency relief package means, what do you think? Well, we think we need to get through the first quarter, which will be the most challenging quarter because of the rampant acceleration of COVID spread around the country, but also a vaccine coming out. We're going to be segueing into a more of a normal lifestyle, if you will, but the new normal will not be what the old normal was. And then this morning we hear this whole new strain of COVID coming out of UK, which we don't know what it'll do. We don't know if the vaccines that they're being distributed now will be able to offset that or give us a little bit more relief. I'm hoping so. Anyway, we have that coming on. They cut it down to 10 weeks, $300 a week for 10 weeks. And I can assure you we'll be monitoring that very closely to see if we're going to need more if this economy doesn't start recovering. There was strong support basically for the PPP extension. And that is basically $284 billion in Paycheck Protection Program. That's also going to include 501c6 nonprofits, local newspapers, TV and radio, broadcasters. And I'm not sure how you all would fall into that. We don't know what the cutoff is and everything. We haven't seen the fine print, but we were trying to make sure the chambers and people like you all could participate in it if needed. Then also 15 billion is going to be funding for live venues, independent movie theaters, cultural institutions such as that. Another 20 billion was targeted for EIDL grants, which are critical to many small businesses, as you all know. Unemployment insurance is, like I said, at $300 for 10 weeks. I think I was disappointed in that because in our original target, guys, we did not have anything for direct payments to citizens. we felt that it should go basically for state and local where the big emergencies and needs are. And since we only had 900 billion to work for, we couldn't do that. Well, they cut out no additional help for state and local and no liability protection. And I think we could have made a deal on both of those. I think that everyone believes that no one business should be in jeopardy of being sued out of existence in a tough pandemic time when we had no idea what was happening from day to day. But that didn't happen. It didn't make it. So they took that money and took another 6 weeks off of another 60 billion from helping unemployed people and putting it to direct payments of $600. And only thing I said to that is I believe that every West Virginian would love to have had 1,200 or even are happy to get the 600. But if they know their neighbors aren't getting anything at all because their unemployment checks are running out, I'll guarantee you they would have said, hey, help the unemployed and people don't have a check first. That's what we try to do. Hey guys, schools, my goodness, we made record $82 billion for schools education, 54 for public schools, 22 billion for higher ed. Nutritional assistance was at 26 billion, rental assistance at 25 billion. Broadband, they cut us down on broadband, they cut us down. And I was disappointed on that. There's a Shelley that's studying now. I was on commerce, she's on commerce now, and she knows there's a little bit of a back and forth on that. Hopefully we'll get that worked out. Mental health and additional opiates, we have 4.5 billion for that, 1.6 for substance abuse, and 1.6 is going to block grants for mental health services. The energy bill, which I think is going to be great. It's around innovation, technologies, carbon capture, sequestration, utilization. And as we move into a new energy portfolio, we're going to make sure that the coal and gas and oil and all of the fossils that have gotten us and still are going to be dependent for quite some time are going to be done in a much cleaner fashion. So we believe in innovation, not elimination of any fuel source because someone doesn't like it or like to do without it because we can't. So it's an all-in energy policy. And with that, I'll conclude, and Shelley can pick up because there's other things I know that we need to talk about, and we'll get into that in the question Q&A if you have it. Okay.
Senator Manchin, thank you very much. What a terrific overview you have provided. And I'd now like to turn the call to Senator Shelley Moore Capito. Senator Shelley Moore Capito has also provided very distinguished service to West Virginia. She is known very, very well by and supported by people on this call. And Senator Capito, we thank you too for your service and for the work that you are doing to help our state. And we appreciate you working in such a bipartisan manner on behalf of the people of West Virginia and our nation. With that, I'd like to call on Senator Capito for remarks.
Thank you, Steve, and thank everybody for participating. I know it's a busy week leading up to Christmas, and certainly with the overhang of the pandemic and families traveling or not traveling, I know it's a big strain on folks. So I want to say to Joe, he's done great work here trying to negotiate this. A lot of this came out. A lot of where we are is where we could have been in my opinion, in August and September. We had the frameworks for this, but it just got caught up really, unfortunately, in the politics. And just from a personal standpoint, I was thinking this morning, I have a friend in Charleston who just passed away on Wednesday from COVID. And she was a small business owner at one point in her life. And I thought, she would be totally disgusted with what has transformed over the last 4 months, as she would have struggled for her business. We see our restaurateurs just really struggling. And here in DC, they're closing indoor dining. It closes down Wednesday. So, I mean, you hear it everywhere. If you get in an Uber or something, they're just hanging by a thread. So while we're putzing around, with the political thing, Joe outlined a lot, I think, of where the help is. I'm just going to fill in a couple of the gaps that maybe Joe did, and some of the questions that I've gotten. One of the questions that I've gotten from a lot of small businesses in West Virginia is the guidance from the Treasury said that if you got a PPP loan and you had it forgiven, that you were not going to be allowed to write down your expenses as you normally do in your taxes. You would not have the deductibility of those expenses if you used your PPP forgivable loan. That has been clarified in this, and that's really important because people start paying their quarterly starting in January. The intent that we had, Joe and I and others of the Senate, was that you would still retain your ability to have the deductibility of your expenses, whether you have a forgivable loan or not. And but particularly if you had a forgivable loan, we didn't want to take that avenue. And the Secretary of the Treasury was taking a real hard stand on this. And a lot of us fought back for a lot of small businesses. And so I want to let you know that that is in there as the deductibility of your PPP loan. So that has been laid to rest. Now, apparently there was a guardrail that was put in there that said, but you had to show that you didn't make any more money or something year to year. But I just heard from Senator Cornyn, who has worked that issue really hard, and he said the guardrail's out. So there is not a guardrail. You don't have to worry about that. You are going to be able to deduct your expenses. And I know that's been an issue for a lot of you. The other thing is the PPP program is going to be narrowed. You're going to have to show that you over year, if you get a second bite at the apple, that you do have a loss in revenue, trying to narrow it down. The other thing is it's gone from 500 to 300, I think, correct, employees. So that it's a narrowing down because we wanted to target really where the need is. So I think we're, and there was leftover money in the PPP loan because remember, we put more money into it in a second tranche. So we're taking that leftover dollars and repurposing that. So if you're looking at the dollars at 908, there's 100 and something that was still left in the PPP program that is going to be used in this instant. The other issue that I've been in large contact with governor's office is the flexibility of the state and local. Now, Joe mentioned that state and local and liability are not in there. Big fight, couldn't settle on either one, so dropped both of them out. I wouldn't say they're dead. They'll probably come back next year, but on the state and local, and I know there's been a big, back and forth on whether our governor's spending the money right and all that. I mean, I can offer my opinion, but it doesn't really matter. He is going to have an extension of being able to spend that money all the way through the end of next year. But he is not going to be able to use that money to replace lost tax revenues. So he has the same guardrails that he has right now. He just has a year extension. He's not going to like that because he's been wanting to replace, and neither of the cities and counties, they want to use tax replacement dollars, but that's not going to be allowed in here. So it's kind of half loaf for the governors. Last thing, or not last thing, but on the testing and vaccine, there's a lot of money in here for testing and a lot of money in here for vaccine deployment. There was a story that was out last week that we got shorted in the number of vaccines that we had. We're going to make sure that we get all the vaccine we get and as quickly as they have. And I think our state's really done a pretty good job in terms of prioritizing and making sure people understand what that is. There's also money in here for our hospitals through the Provider Relief Fund. That's a big question that our hospitals have had. So there's also some more transportation dollars in here. There's what will be about 108.49 million for the state in transportation dollars. And the reason that was created, in my opinion, I don't have this, but where I think it will help the governor and the DOT is it'll make up for that lost gas tax revenue that we saw, a downturn in the revenues. This will help with the match coming for our highways. There's also money in there for our airports, which I talked to the Yeager folks. I'm sure Joe talked to them too. They were very interested in that. And so that is, without repeating what Joe said, that's the crux of it. There's a lot in here for agriculture too, but I don't know how much of that's really going to be relevant to what we see here in West Virginia. There is some money for temporary rental assistance, and also the eviction moratorium has been extended. But where I think this has been opened up a little bit more, it's not just, I think we're going to, including the landlords. I'm sure there are landlords on the call. We've heard from landlords. They've really had a really tough time. So we're trying to, again, get targeted relief where we know it's needed. On the omnibus, which is the large spending bill, both of us are on appropriations. I chair Homeland Security. If you're interested, Homeland Security actually got 1.3 billion for new construction for the wall, which I was shocked that Democrats really went along with it, but they did. And so I won't get into the details of my bill, but there is an interesting thing. Joe mentioned the energy package, which is great for West Virginia, and good job on that one. The Water Resources Development Act, which is our locks and dams, a lot of core projects. I was able to get into that bill some increase on our water project, our water development. It's called a 571 if you're in the House. So you can get more projects through the core. I was able to lift the cap on those so we have some more money.
Hey.
And that, yeah, that's good news. And the other thing is surprise billing is on here. This is a kind of controversial issue, but it's trying to get to reining in the cost of healthcare. And, you know, it's surprise billing is when you get a bill a month later from your anesthesiologist for $600 that you didn't even know the anesthesiologist was going to send you a separate bill. So this is to try to eliminate those kinds of surprise bills that people get. And Dr. Cassidy, who's a senator from Louisiana, has been really in on this. It has an arbitration clause in it. There's been some controversy on the best way to go, but I think that's going to be a really good thing for the consumer. And that's what we're trying to look at to try to help that consumer. So I'm going to stop there and leave time for question. We are right now where we will be hopefully passing this bill in the next 24 hours. It should have been passed 3 months ago. We're going to have to go back to this when we get to the new administration. We're in a very point of a lot of uncertainty because we have 2 Senate seats, in case you didn't know, that are still undetermined. So if the Republicans retain the majority, I will be chairman of the Environment and Public Works Committee, which will be working the highway bill. Either way, I'll be the lead Republican. If the Democrats win both of those seats, Joe will be the chairman of the Energy Committee. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but he'll be the lead Democrat on that, as he has been in the past. So I think we're well placed to help our state, and so we look forward to what you all might have on your minds tonight. I hope I didn't talk too long, but thanks.
Hey, Steve,
Yes.
If
Yes,
I could hit on really some important parts there, and I just want to follow up on a couple of things that she reminded me of. I mean, municipal and counties, the municipalities and counties was the greatest concern that every senator had on Democrats and Republicans if we would have gotten the new money for state and local. And also the restrictions would have been put on all governors that unless they could show that 40% of the money was distributed to municipalities and counties, they would have no flexibility. That's how hard Democrats and Republicans both felt that our municipalities and counties have been left out in many states and did not get to. So we're encouraging that. They can still now apply with the Governor of Justice on their expenses and should absolutely continue to fight for that. Vaccine, Shelley mentioned on vaccine. We're going to get probably more, Shelley, I think, of the Moderna because of the way they can store it. Doesn't have to be in super cold. And it's probably going to go out into the rural areas. As you know, the VA, the first crack at the VA, we weren't on the list. We are on the list now, so our veterans will be getting their vaccines hopefully this coming week. The revenue loss, I think Shelley was talking about. I think the revenue loss, and my guys are on the phone there that work this bill, you have to show 30% for PPP loans. You have to show revenue loss from this past year, the COVID year, of 30% revenue loss to qualify for PPP, but everything else was correct on that. And also you get a forgiveness, $150,000 loans or PPP grants, loans before are going to be grants now turned into grants. You don't pay it back in expenses. Food banks are going to get help this time. Food banks have been helping a lot of people who are not usually in food lines are going to get help. So, and the surprise billing that Shelley brought up is absolutely unbelievable that we were able, everyone's agreed on this, but the lobbying force has been so fierce that they were unable to put it anywhere except for this year-end package. And it basically, the surprise billing is what she says, anesthesiologists, or when you go to emergency rooms, or they pick you up by air ambulance, those types of things they're going to have to negotiate those prices before anything else is done. And that's what they're going to do. Surprise billing will be stopped. So those are all great things. And Shelley hit on it. And we are positioned, her and I are positioned well to help West Virginia, making sure we don't get left behind. Shelley?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing really quickly, Steve. First, thank you. But also, I didn't mention Aaron Spork, Mary Elizabeth Eckerson, and JT Jazerski, who does all my appropriations. They're on the call too. I know Joe Stapps, he mentioned his. I forgot to mention you guys. But anyway, thanks for all your good hard work.
And thank you for all of you working together too. It's all about West Virginia, and we want to make sure people know that.
If I could add a word about your staff for both of you, we just couldn't be more impressed with any congressional staff. The staff that works in Senator Manchin's office and in Senator Capito's office is terrific. We appreciate them. This is really the first time that we've been on a first name basis with the staff from both of our United States senators. And I just want you to know how responsive they are, how competent they are, and how prompt they are in reaching out when there are questions that come from West Virginia. So I want to just add my thank you to both of you for hiring and having and managing great staff. I do have a number of questions in the queue. You answered several of them. One of the questions that I think I'm not sure I heard an answer to is and I realize that as Senator Manchin pointed out in his remarks, some of the details are still being worked out by the four leaders. But one question is, what is the new deadline for state governments to spend CARES Act funds? And I don't know if we know the answer to that.
It's the end of next year.
Okay.
December 31st, 2021.
Yeah. End of
2021.
2021. December 31st, 2021.
Okay. Thank you.
About leftover money, Steve, right?
Yes.
A lot of states have leftover money, and a lot of states do not. And that was the big hullabaloo.
Right. Yes. Another two questions relate to education. One is maybe this is coming from a college student. The question says, are college students over 18 included in stimulus payments? And the second question is, what is the breakdown for education spending?
Breakdown was, go ahead, Joe. Okay, breakdown basically was a total of $82 billion.
Okay, I think you did touch.
Yeah, the breakdown really comes in the pots of 54.3 billion was for public K-12 schools. 22.7 was for higher education institutions. 4 billion for the governor's emergency education relief fund. That's the way it's broken down right now. The big catch-all and the big basically hang-up we had, our dear friend Bill Cassidy was fighting for private schools or parochial schools because they've been carrying a lot of the load. And so I'll tell you the little nuances to that. A private school, people think it's all rich people sending their kids to private schools. So it's given all preference and tax breaks to rich parents who are supporting. I looked at it as anyone who sends their child to parochial school is paying twice. You're paying the taxes, property taxes, support public education, and a choice that you can basically go to a parochial school like Charleston Catholic. But also for a parochial school to participate in this education fund, they have to basically abide by the Civil Rights Protection Act. And they cannot participate in PPP, so they can't double dip. So there is help there. And Lance or Wes, if you have anything else, because I know you all worked on that diligently. Do you have anything I missed on that?
No, sir, you hit the top lines. We're waiting to see the details because the final package is a little different than what you negotiated. So we're waiting to see the details. There will be student loan forbearance, or there will not be student loan forbearance in this package.
4 billion, didn't we? Had 4 billion in our breakdown, and all the Democrats and Republicans that we were all working together thought, well, you got to give the student loan some break here, until April 1, but they took that out and used the money elsewhere.
And that can be done via executive order. So the assumption is that the president will extend that when it comes up.
President Biden.
On the college student, that was an issue. You couldn't, students 17 and under were counted as children. college students did get shut out of the last stimulus checks. I don't know if we resolved that. I know that was a big red flag. So we'll have to get back. I'll have to get back to you. I don't have the answer to that. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I think college students will be a part of this stimulus procedure, but checks. But I'm going to double check that. Do you know, Joe? I don't know.
Well, I know they were trying to. They were trying to get. They were
Yeah.
getting extra money for that, and that was the whole thing. They were moving money around, trying to take care of that. Whether it finally got in or not, is Wes or Lance? I don't think we have any idea on the final.
We won't know till
we'll see it this afternoon.
Yeah.
I just heard it's a 5,000-page bill, so we should get it here shortly.
Well, read it, Lance. Come on, what's wrong with you?
5,000 page.
That's what I've heard.
That's what the you're talking about, including the omnibus bill.
Yes, but I'll control F for stimulus checks.
Yeah, we'll have it read in a couple hours, guys.
Yeah.
I heard one of you, and I think it was Senator Manchin, talk about $150 million limit, and that goes to a question that I have here. The question might have been answered, but I'm not sure. The direct question is, are there limitations on the size of loans to be forgiven, or will it be fully tax-free? Senator Manchin, you might have already answered that. I'm not sure if that's a different matter.
Steve, really, it's $150,000. So if you had a loan $150,000 or less, sorry. 150,000 or less, and my staff there can correct me if I'm wrong on this, then it'll be forgiven. That loan is basically wiped out, okay? And then you said for tax, I think Shelley answered that. Yes, you will be able to deduct.
Well, the other thing is too, I think on the loans of 150,000 and less, the reporting requirements have been eased because people were getting hung up, on, I don't have an accountant, I don't have a lawyer to go through all this. And so we sort of, that's what Joe's, I think, you're referring to with the 150. I think in this next tranche of PPP, I don't have it on my little sheet here because we haven't seen it, but the max loan before was 10 million. I think we lowered that, but I'm not sure to what.
I think it was lowered in accordance. Basically, we lowered the amount of employees from 500 employee companies down to 300 or less.
And I think we lowered the max loan.
I think it was cut in half. I could be wrong, but I thought it was cut in half.
Yeah.
But we'll find out on that too.
So this has been extremely helpful. I want to thank both of you. I just really wonder if there is another state in the nation where two United States senators would have agreed so quickly and with so little back and forth to come on and do this on such short notice. I'm having trouble thinking of any other state in the nation where this could have occurred. So it's a tribute to both of you. It's a tribute to Senator Manchin. It's a tribute to Senator Capito. We're just so proud as West Virginians of the work that you do for us and the way you represent us. I do not have more questions in the queue. And depending on your schedules, we can say thank you, or we can take a few more words from you if you'd care to offer them.
I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and safe holiday and stay well. Both of us took the vaccine. It doesn't hurt. I didn't have any side effects. We got criticized for taking it, but I think I felt it was important to publicly announce I was going to do it. It was my turn, according to what the attending physician told us to do. And I think people need to know that I'm not, that I have full confidence in this. And I think that's important to be upfront about it. So well, again, have a good holiday, everybody.
I would wish the same as Shelley's wish to all. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy New Year to all of you. It's a little different than what we have anticipated and what we've ever had in the past, but it is what it is. We'll make the best of it. And I've always said, if you can count your blessings, you can share your blessings. There's an awful lot of people that need a little bit of help or a lot of help. Anything you can do to share some of those blessings with it would be greatly appreciated, I'm sure, by those people. Finally, I would say this: there's not two senators that are better prepared and better positioned to help their state they represent than Shelley and I. When you look at the two committees that we have ranking, or when we talk about being chairman or ranking, I guess it best be understood chairman or vice chairman is how it would be probably understood by the average public. That means we both have staffs in these particular committees. Well, when you talk about BPW, which is all EPA and roads and that, and you talk about energy, which is the energy policies of our country, and both of us are the top top people on both respective sides. And then you look at, we're the only state other than Montana that both of us set on appropriations. There's not another state that has both of those centers setting on appropriations than Montana. That's the only other state I know of. So I think that we're positioned to really take care of West Virginia. Our staffs like each other and work well together, and I'm very appreciative of that because that's what really makes it work. And we're going to continue to put West Virginia first and make sure that people know who we are and we don't get left behind. God bless and thank you all.
I can't say it any better than either of you have said it, but I do want to say thank you so much. What I am seeing come up on my screen are your staff members weighing in, saying if people have questions, call us. So that's just another affirmation of the terrific staff work that happens in your offices. And I'm also seeing lots of messages come up on the screen, wishing all a Merry Christmas, asking you to be safe in your travels, asking all of us to be safe from COVID. And we could not be more proud of the delegation that we have in West Virginia. Once again, thank you. Stay safe, travel safely, stay well, and a happy season of Christmas to all. Thank you so, so much.
Thanks, Paul.
See you guys.
Take care. Thank you.